Hey guys, good evening, welcome to your evening EasyJet flight. We're back in Faro, HD's favourite place, and short flight north then up to Madrid, where I believe we are on VATSIM with no ATC here, but from what I've seen on the VAT maps things, there was ATC at Madrid, and it also looked to be a little bit busy, so let's hope we get in without having to do any sort of holds, because the aircraft can't yet do those. Thanks for everyone that's already in the chat room and waiting. Let's get in the flight deck and make a start, getting those passengers boarded. So I hope you've all had a very good Saturday so far. Now, one of the things to note here is that ground power units are not available on this stand, apparently. So that little button there is not quite correct. Let's get the batteries on and we'll get the APU running straight away. That's just something I read in the charts for if anyone's wondering where that information came from. So start the APU. So I don't know why that is. As I say, that's just something that's in the charts. And we'll start the cockpit preparation. Get everything set up. But realistically, we need that APU to fire up before anything's really going to happen. Do we have a jetway here? Yes, we do. So we can start bringing that over. Wait for that to arrive, then we'll start getting those passengers boarded. Hope you're all having a good weekend so far. We're on live weather, and the aircraft we're using today, of course, is the fly-by-wire mod, but it is the custom-built fly-by-wire. So hopefully much easier and nicer to control. Joe Fritas, hello from, I have no idea where that is, somewhere in America. Where is it? KSJC. I wouldn't be able to guess that aircraft in a million years. At that airport, sorry. So the APU still firing up. And we won't get the screens on either until the APU is fired up. The battery powers it'll give you some lighting, but it's not enough to fire up the computers. So that will be here shortly. We can also turn on some of the lighting as well. And let's start getting those passengers boarded. Start our flight. San Jose, California. Thank you. Amtrak, good evening. Good to see you.
Cabin crew, we're ready to start boarding the aircraft now, so you can go ahead, open the doors. Thank you.
So the APU is on, as we can hear. Stuart, good evening from snowy Derbyshire. Is it snowing in Derbyshire? Goodness me. Hope we don't get any of that. I'm a little bit north of you, up in Sheffield. Good evening, Pete. Hope you're well. Okay, cockpit preparation. Let's crack on with this. Fire test engine 1, fire test engine 2. Navigation lights now on. Fuel pumps as well. All our signs are on. And the passengers are boarding. Very good. Turn the brightness down here. And a bit of pedestal lighting to go with that. So because I am in the custom fly-by-wire build, this also means that I am not in the beautiful version which has the working printer, unfortunately. So that's not available in this build. Not yet anyway. Let me grab you a metal then. For Faro. If anyone that wants that. Just put in the complete wrong code there. Let's try again. I'll also grab you our flight plan. So here's the flight plan coming up now, guys, in the chat. There we go. No, sorry HD, I'm not in that one. Not at all. Although I'm glad you're online though. I was going to pick your brains in a moment. So, is it right? We've got no GPU here. on your stand at Faro, and we also have to look at starting engine 2 first. Is that correct? Let me know. But we are using the custom fly-by-wire build, which means that we get we should hopefully have a nice easy control system to work with. What else was I doing? I was getting you a METAR as well, wasn't I? And we're taking off from runway 28 when we eventually take off. METAR, please. Let's have a look. Here it is, coming into the chat now. HD, yeah, that's just what I was reading, unless the chart's wrong. Where's it gone? Ground power unit, use of ground, the mobile GPU is not allowed on stand 314, except when the apron drive or loading bridge GPU system is unserviceable. Ah, okay, alright, okay, it's the mobile GPU is not available. Fair enough. Oh well, we've got the APU started now anyway, so we're good. We're good. And then where did I read about engine 2? Where's that gone? Taxiing for safety reasons, pilots should only use the starboard engines when taxiing on stands 314. Is that taxiing in or out, or both? I can understand why though, considering that we've obviously got a close terminal over here on the left, nothing on the right. So I'll let you. I shall let you fill in the blanks there, HD. What was that METAR again? That was that I just popped in there. 1012. HD, head over to Navigraph. The tab should be open for you. See where I'm reading that. Of course, Navigraph isn't as accurate as the real world. Does a good job though. Flight directors turning on, and FCU is set. Okay, so okay, HD, very good, thank you. Let's come down now and turn on the brightness for some of these. And the ECAMs. There we go. IRS alignment in 1 minute. And let's bring in our information from SimBrief. So, init press, init data recovery. There we go. Faro to Madrid, 1 hour, 2 minutes. Let's get the performance, weight and balance and check that as well. Let's see. So, block fuel 4404, that is correct. And we can get that loaded in. And our payload is 17264. 17264 is correct. Get that loaded in. So fuel weight 58.3, 58.26, that is close enough. 166 passengers. Let's move on to our GPS primaries just kicked in, so that's the ideas now aligned. And let's get the init A page. Init request. Let's pull this in. Not in database. Ignore that. Clear the scratch pad and try again. There we go. Easy Y34 Alpha Mike. Key that in. MFS pilot, good evening. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday night. Cost index 8, flight level 380 minus 63. That's cold. 380 minus 63. There we are. So that's init A. Flight plan, let's have a look and make sure that's all imported. Yes it is. We will be departing runway 28, and even though there's no SID in the flight plan, I believe we shall be using the Zapas 8 uniform. Zapas 8 uniform. There we go. Alright, HD, let me tell you what, can I copy and paste that? Ah, no I can't. So HD on the chart under general. Is it under general? No it isn't. It's chart, I'll type this in. Chart 10, 1, Papa 2, it's just under the taxiing at the bottom, 0.313. Check that out for me, not quite sure where what that's referring to. So where were we? That's all set in with the SID, and let's have a look what we're doing when we get to Madrid. So when we get to Madrid, we are planning an arrival of runway 18 right, 18 right Zulu, not 18 right Yankee, there we go, 18 right Zulu, and that will be the RIDAV 2 Alpha. That will be there. Let's have a look. Where's that going to be via then? Via recall, I think. There we go. And insert. Good. Let's just check, see what that all looks like. The flight's just going to be about 1 hour flight time, that is. 1 hour flight time. Let's check the coding, make sure this all looks correct. So, departing, heading north. And let's have a look at the arrival. That looks pretty good. Of course, I believe ATC is online, so that could all change in the blink of an eye once we actually get in the air and contact Madrid approach. Okay, back to the do. Let's have a look at Init B. Init B. Zero fuel weight is 58.3. 58.3. Standard centre of gravity of 30. Planned fuel is telling us 3.2. We're taking 4.4. Which, given the amount of traffic I believe there is at Madrid, we may end up needing. Takeoff weight 62.5. Takeoff weight 62.5. That's very good. Landing weight 60.3. That's spot on as well. Shame the fuel burn won't be. And a trip wind of T13. T13. There we go. And the takeoff performance page. So transition altitude here is 4,000 feet. We also set thrust reduction to 1021, 1021, 1021. No speed restrictions. Flaps 1 for departure, and our flex 10 is calculated to 68. Let's put that in. Calculate these V speeds: V2 134, VR 130, and V1 129. Just double checking those charts. Don't believe there's a speed restriction as we depart. No, the only restriction we've got I'll go through in a moment. So that's the takeoff performance page, all complete. So quick departure briefing then. Departing runway 28, minimum safe altitude 3,000 feet. After departure there's a right hand turn above 3,000 feet but not before 4 miles DME. And that will be from Faro, I believe that is. Victor Foxtrot Alpha. So we need to go to the RadNav page and pull it in. Victor Foxtrot Alpha. Oh, HD, glad you're with me on that, and you've never seen it before. This is your favourite airport. But if we're starting engine 2 first, I guess that's what we should do. We'll go with that. Okay, so the weather, which I've already given you guys, nothing to worry about. Visibility is excellent. Bit of scatter cloud, 1,200 feet, QNH 1012. If we have an issue after takeoff, we will head to the south, and then we'll just come back and land in, so that's good. Okay, so what's that HD? So long as you're doing a 2-engine taxi, because you can't taxi an engine number 2 low. No, that's fair enough. I imagine it's just when starting and pushing back, I would have thought. MFS pilot, what's the MDA? The MDA is the minimum descent altitude, or minimum safe. Sorry, I'm confused now. Do you mean MSA? Minimum safe altitude is 3,000 feet on departure. The MDA is when we're arriving, and I've not got that far just yet. So the only note I'm to note is that that little bit that me and HD have just been discussing about starting engine 2 first. Threats, MSA sorted. So fair enough. Okay, so I think the passengers have just all boarded. We can now get rid of the jetway. Are you all on, passengers? Yes, you are. So let's get rid of that jetway. Goodbye. Let's see how self-loading cargo fights with that. So we now contact the ATC, except there's no
Hi,
ATC
Captain.
just
All
here.
passengers are on board and doors have been closed.
So with that,
Thank you.
we're good to go. Autopilot, this is the custom fly-by-wire experimental version, which is much, much nicer to fly.
Hello ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck. My name is Gavin and I'll be your pilot flying you today. We're currently on schedule for departure, so not expecting any further delays, and we'll be looking to push back very shortly. The weather today is looking calm, so we should be able to give you a nice, relaxing flight. The cabin crew will be delivering their safety briefing very shortly, so please give them your full attention. Once we're airborne, we'll turn the seatbelt signs off and release the cabin, but for now, please get yourselves comfortable with seatbelts securely fastened. Thank you for choosing Easyjet today, and we hope you enjoy your flight.
Okay, so we're almost ready to push back. Let's do the before start checklist. Cockpit preparation is complete. Signs are on auto. Gears are aligned, and FCU is set to nav. Fuel quantity is checked and balanced. And flight management guidance system all set. Altimeter set 1020 and cross-checked. We get our departure clearance, pushback clearance now. If we had ATC, but we don't. So with that, rotating beacon light can come on. Make sure the doors are armed.
Cabin crew, please arm doors and cross-check.
Autopilot, not when taking off. Sometimes when landing, the rudder goes completely AWOL. But we're going to see if that happens today as we land in Madrid. Alright, so beacon light is on. Let's ask them to start pushing us back, shall we? Nose wheel steering disc is checked. Transponder to auto. Parking brake is currently on. We shall remove that in a minute. Before start, checklist. Below the line, windows and doors all checked. Rotating beacon light is on. Parking brake can now come off. That will start pushing us back, and we shall now start engine 2 first for a change. So engine mode selected to ignition and starting engine 2. Now whilst that's starting, I need to check where this guy's pushing us back to. This is the only bit that I really wish would become automated. I'm sure that someone will bring something out soon which follows the taxi lines. MFS pilot, I've not even looked at the MDA yet. I'll be looking at that in cruise.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the crew, I ask that you please direct your attention to the monitors as we review the emergency procedures. There are 6 emergency exits on the aircraft. Take a minute to locate the one closest to you and note that it may be behind you. Count the number of rows to the exit. Should the cabin experience pressure loss, stay calm and listen for instructions from the cabin crew. Oxygen masks will drop down from above your seat.
Engine 2
Place the
stabilized,
mask
starting
over your
engine
mouth and
1.
nose like this, and pull the strap to tighten it. If you are traveling with children, make sure you put your own mask on first before helping others. In the unlikely event of an emergency landing and evacuation, leave your carry-on luggage and items behind. Life rafts are located below your seats and emergency lighting in the floors will lead you to the closest exit. We ask that you make sure that all carry-on luggage is stowed away safely during the flight. While we wait for takeoff, please take a moment to review the
Planned
safety
landing runway
procedures
for
on
your
the card
chicken
in the pocket
18
in front of you.
right, 18
Thank you
right.
for your attention and we hope you enjoy the flight.
So just waiting for engine number 1 now to stabilize. And then we'll run the after start checklist. Engine 1 is stable, so APU can now come off. Engine mode selector to norm. Ground spoilers armed, rudder trim 0, flaps 1. And let's just check. Center of gravity, flight controls down 2. Okay, let's run the after start checklist. So, anti-ice is on, ECAM checked, pitch trim down 0.2, rudder trim set 0. Okay, so pushback is clear. We'd get the taxi clearance now. Turn on the taxi light. And whilst we are here, because then we can just go straight out, let's run, let's do a few more checks. We'll do the flight control check, full left, full right, neutral, full up, full down, neutral, rudder full right, rudder full left, neutral. And one thing I do notice about using this custom fly-by-wire experimental version is that everything is not as fast to move, even with the sensitivities reduced. Everything is not as fast, so it feels much nicer. HD, where's that on the checklist? Have you added that in? Okie dokies, I'll go with you. We don't want it on for takeoff anyway. Is it even slower than that in real life? Wow. Russ, I know, I've got to pass out stream on the weekend. We'll ding the cabin there. Get the auto brakes on. TO config. We'll pop the terrain radar on as well. Quick departure briefing. Nothing's changed with regards to the performance. Engine out procedure. Obviously, after V1 and rotate, we shall take off, fly south, troubleshoot the problem, come back and land. The airfield weather is very good. Stop altitude 6,000 feet is all set. All right. Let's go. So let's have a look at the charts for this. We can basically taxi all the way to the end here, then turn right on Delta to meet Papa. Still got a few more checks as well to do before we depart. I'm running over taxi. I'm following the taxi line here, but I am just running over taxi lines. Never mind. We also need to tune to Unicom. That just reminds me, there may not be any air traffic control here, but another pilot is there. That's none of you in the stream, is it? Flying alongside me. I've never landed in Madrid, so I'm going to enjoy this. There's very high terrain to the north of the airfield that we'll be descending over, so that could be fun. And as I say, I do believe air traffic control are online. So now we're away from the terminal. I'm going to go through and turn on our weather radars and things like that. So let's just hold her there. And let's turn on weather radar and predictive wind shear. Before takeoff, checklist, flight control check, departure briefing, confirm that flap setting, config 1, and then the FMA data 129 blue, 134 magenta, auto brake set max, climb nav blue, flight directors 1 and 2 both on hacks will be off for departure, anti-ice will be on. The departure box HD, what is it? You got me wondering now. It is the Zapas 8 Echo, is it? 8 uniform, sorry. Zapas 8 uniform. Right. Where are we? Where's the runway? I think we're down here and then back to the right, if that's correct. Pedro is the departure code wrong. Oh well. I can go in and change that during the cruise. This is where, particularly at night time, I do miss modern airports with correct taxi signs for the airports that I'm unfamiliar with. Doesn't seem to be many lights there at the threshold of the runway. MFS, that's correct, taking off runway 28. So here we are now holding short of runway 28. Let's just get Unicom on there. 122.8. Transponder would be set if we had a transponder there, but we haven't got one. Let's just check. Ooh, brake temps, they're absolutely fine. No brake fans on. Let's have a look. No aircraft coming in that we can see. So let's turn on the landing lights. Nose lights to take off, runway turn off lights, and strobe lights. TCAS, TA, RA, transponder, and everything else. Before takeoff, below the line cabin is secured for takeoff. Engine mode selector, norm, TCAS, TA, RA, packs going off. Anti-ice is on. Federal traffic runway 28, easy 3 for Alpha Mike is lining up for takeoff to the north. That wasn't the best radio call, was it? All the right information, but not in the correct order. Alpaca 98, you're going into, is that Venice? Is that right? Let's turn these screens off, shall we? Give my frame rates a bit of a boost. PC has to work really hard when obviously streaming and flying. Okay, so it'll be flex temp takeoff. Let's dim those dome lights, turn those off. And flex temp is 68. Start the chrono. Let's go. Side stick forward. 50% N1 set. And set flex temp. Man, flex, SRS and runway. $100 knots. V1 and rotate.
Positive rate of climb, gear up.
Climb thrust. I'm just looking now. I can't make any turns below 3,000 feet or is it 4 miles? But I think one of those USR points has kicked in somewhat. Flaps 0, ground spoilers, disarmed, packs coming back on. So once we have passed 4 miles, then we'll go direct up to Zapas. As the USR points has come in, we spoke about those in the past. A lot of the time they can be fairly harmless as long as you know how to deal with those. So there's 4 miles. So now if we just go back to the flight plan and hit direct to Zapas, insert that, and then where's our flight line gone? Doesn't look like the autopilot wants to follow that. If we engage that. Flight director, oh there we go, the flight director is now coming alive and we're making that turn. Transition altitude is 4,000 feet, so we can now go standard pressure. 6,000 feet the initial climb, no ATC however, so we can set our climb up to flight level 380. That's looking better. Speed is holding at 250 knots, so that's good. Alpaca 98, no, the printing function is still in testing mode. I'm one of the QA testers for fly-by-wire, which is why I get access to these things a little earlier. Once we've tested them, making sure they're all working, they will get put into the dev build, and then after the dev build becomes substantiated with new features, then they merge them all into the stable build.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may now use your electronic devices. Rechargeable battery packs are available for your smartphones and tablets at an additional superkit or super sticker cost. Please ask your cabin crew for more information.
So, coming up to 10,000 feet now, we didn't turn those lights on, did we? 10,000 feet, we can now release the cabin crew, turn off the portable devices, and turn off the landing lights, of course. the runway turn-off lights. Okay, so is Madrid approach still online? It's not the longest flight this, so just need to be aware. Oh, Madrid approach is not online. That's a shame. Never mind. That actually means we have to work a little bit harder with regard to our planning, as we're not just going to be given vectors and things like that. HD, I do turn it off at night for the takeoff. I normally leave it. I normally leave it on until I get to turning the landing lights on, etc. for landing over the runway. Then just turn that off for departure. I don't know if that's right or wrong. And then normally once I'm back up in the cruise, I'll turn it back on again to have a little look around. And because I've normally turned the office light off here as well, I put the dome lights on because it lights up all the stuff in front of me. Digital Flagger, good evening. I've only just seen you in the chat. To be honest, I don't pay that much attention to the chat during the setup and departure for obvious reasons. So if you have asked me something that I've not answered, I'm not being rude. Please do ask it again. I've just completely missed it. So are they working on lessening or smoothing out the tendency to nose down abruptly when trying to accelerate on the autopilot? I think the problem with that is, and it's something that I was guilty of, and HD will tell you, that the flight director, once you hit the acceleration altitude and you've brought all flaps zero, the flight director drops, obviously to accelerate away, but it is a little bit too abrupt, I think, because I was following the flight director, and if you do that, you end up not climbing, you end up almost flying level, or worse. Yeah, actually that makes sense, and as we're obviously coming in at night, I shall most certainly have those off for our landing. Okay, let's tell the passengers they can get up and walk around, etc. They haven't got very long.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign, so you are free to move about the cabin. However, please note that we do recommend you fasten your seatbelts at all times when you are seated in case of turbulence. Thank you.
Yeah, so the flight director does drop below 10 degrees on the acceleration, so we need to ignore that. But obviously if you've got the autopilot on, it will not ignore that, and it will follow the flight directors as they show. MFS pilot. HD is not just a pilot, but he's an A320 pilot, so it's a double bonus. So if you have any really, really complicated questions, ask him, not me. Or I'll give you my answer, then HD will give you the real one.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to serve a selection of alcoholic drinks including wine and locally sourced ales. Please make sure your tray table is in the down position and clear any items from the aisle. This is a paid-for service, so please consider tipping the cabin crew and the channel using stickers or super chats. Thank you.
So once we've got up to our cruising altitude, what I'm going to do is go through the arrival, which it's not too complicated, but there are a couple of things we need to be aware of. The biggest thing is the terrain. Lots of terrain to the north of Madrid. And just to give you an example, the platform altitude is 7,000 feet. Madrid itself is about 2,000 feet when we land. HD, that's a fair point. I was saying on the Discord, I can't remember if it was today or yesterday, that if you ever go back to work, we're all going to be in a lot of trouble here. Easyjet don't have Wi-Fi, do they, on board their flights just yet? Talking about perishable skills, my wife is currently doing an access course, which is what she's busy studying for in an evening a lot of the time, which is why I can get on here. But she has to do a maths test for one of the universities she's going to, and oh my lord, long division. That is a perishable skill. I ended up having to watch a YouTube video last night to remember how to do that. Most certainly is a perishable skill. Anti-ice can now come off. Why wasn't engine 2 anti-ice? And I misclicked that. So did everybody see the working printer earlier today in the video that I saw, that I uploaded this morning? What a great little... I was going to use the word gimmick there, but it's not a gimmick, it's actually really, really useful. I'm going to get the en route weathers in a moment, and then for Madrid I'm going to be scribbling those down, where realistically I'll be able to just hit the print button. It'll come out of the printer over here, and then they'll pop it in just there, and I can read it off. How amazing is that? HD, since having the kids, I've got a lot more grey matter than I used to. All on top. Cloud Chaser, hello my friend. I keep meaning to get back to you actually on the Discord. I will make a note to do that, I promise. So if anyone's wondering why I haven't got the printer version working with this flight, and and the engine sounds as well that we checked yesterday, those gorgeous engine sounds, that is because I'm in the custom fly-by-wire build, which does not have all of those in just yet. It will do, but not yet. The custom fly-by-wire build is usually quite a few versions behind the dev version, and I think it just might be a little bit more complicated to implement some of those things, which is why. But I wanted to just come back to flying the custom fly-by-wire build because it's so nice to fly. Digital Flight Deck, you are correct, and somebody else has also mentioned that to them in our QA chat, so I think that might be coming. Then again, I've never actually seen a real one and the way it was printed out, so HD may have to go and check that video and let me know what he thinks. Passing flight level 300. MFS pilot, just as I've said, I can't do the printer at the moment just because it doesn't work in the build that I'm currently flying. Terry Campbell, that is a great point. If you do have VR, then that is going to be invaluable, isn't it? Of course, it's a shame you can't actually pick the piece of paper up and move it around. HD, I think they got it half right then. It was half, I think, because well, go and check the video, you'll see it's probably easier than me trying to explain it, but basically I did a printout with 2 airfields and then with 4 airfields, and I think it separated 3 and 4, but not 1 and 2. I mean, it's a really minor thing, isn't it? When you think about what the guys are doing, it really is a minor thing. So this is going to be one of those flights where we fly up and almost immediately start descending back down again. So with that, I'm confident the aircraft's going to stop at flight level 380. So just keep an eye on that. I can see that in the top corner, and I am going to get some weathers. And see what's happening in Madrid. Texas 1 Flyboy. Good evening. Hi Leonard, good to see you. I'm pretty certain they won't have sent this into sent the printer function yet into this stable version, into this experimental version. Yeah, because if I hit the print button, I don't think it's going to come out. No, not yet. Right, so what do we have? strong wind again. So 220 at 16. This is why we've scribbled it down. 22016, visibility 7 kilometers, light rain, few clouds at 800 feet, scattered 1,200 feet, broken 5,000 feet. That's good, quite low. Few clouds at 800 feet. The elevation of the airport is about 2,000 feet. Is that AGL? Interesting. Temperature plus 91007. So we can pop those in. Could be a misty approach. And performance. Thank you, HD. You've just confirmed that for me. It did confuse me for a second though. I didn't think it was AGM. And then, of course, it has to be, doesn't it? Unless you're going to get clouds under the ground. 1007 QNH, temperature plus 9, wind 22016. So that's going to be nice to try this experimental fly-by-wire build in those winds. Transition altitude, this is one of the biggies in Europe, 13,000 feet. Case Norman, just a question, what is the fly-by-wire version with a printer? Check out the video that I uploaded this morning. It is coming, it's still in development, but it won't be too long until that's there. Cat 1 2191 2191 is the MDA. There we go. And we're about to reach our cruising altitude mode. We've already got the approach information set up, which is good because we're not that far away. And just checking, we've got 10.7 in the RadNav page. Yes, we do 10.7. Missed approach, climb runway, heading, turn right at a maximum of 220 knots. Cross Bravo Romeo Alpha, which is the Barajas VOR, at 8.5 miles DME at 5,000 feet. We need to put the Barajas VOR in the new 116.45, or we can just type in bra. There we go. Let's get that keyed in there. And that's a, we'll actually pick that up at 116.45. I think we would have done by now. And mind you, we're still about 200 miles away, so perhaps not. Digital flight deck, you may be onto something there. I may have snuck out a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen from the cockpit, once again, just to let you know that we've reached our cruise level for today's flight. We're not anticipating any delays, so we should have you at your destination on time as planned. As the cabin crew make their way around the aircraft, please make sure they are clear of any items. Are you ready to sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the flight? Thank you.
Just to let us know, for those of you that were with us yesterday, these SD pages, the cycling, has been reported, and they're checking that out because it's not working. Okay, let's check our flight progress. 19 minutes into our flight. We're 121 miles from Bari. Which we should be there in about 17 minutes. So that's right, that's good. Minimum fuel when we get there about 2.5 tons. Russ, we like regulars. Are you on the Discord as well, Russ? Make sure you are. Peter Baskoff, flying A320 at the moment. I'm wondering, what are the letters and numbers on the captain's left armrest? I have no idea. I can't even see it in the dark. Hang on. What are we looking at? Oh, therefore how you have your seat set up, I believe. So every captain is a different shape and size, different length legs. So if you know where you like to have your seat positioned, you can line them up. Because obviously they're not flying the same aircraft every single day. At least that's what I believe, therefore. HD will confirm or deny. Right, let's have a look at our top of descent. Liam 10 plays. Hello, please don't do that. You won't last very long. Okay, I need to check the coding of this star as well. So, after Rigav, Liam, you can sub me all you want, I still don't like spammers. After Rigav, we have got MD400 and then USAT, USAT. And then Etuni, 12,000 feet, to Riclo at 11. And then MD 600, 605. Let's check this from Riclo. Yep, MD 600, 605, 610. Beautiful. That is all coded in exactly I wanted it to be. At Riclo then we want to be at 11,000 feet. MFS pilot, can I put the arrival to LEMD page so I can take a screenshot? Certainly, just bear with me one moment. I'm just looking out at the top of the descent and when we're going to be doing that. So what are we at? We're at 38,000 feet and we want to be at 11,000 feet. So we need to lose an altitude of 27,000 feet. 27,000 feet, which means divided by 1,000 times by 3, add 10 for good measure. About 90 miles away from Riclo. No, yes, from Riclo we want to start that descent. Okay, so really not very far. FS, what did you want? The arrival to LEMD page. I need some more words from you, MFS. How do you mean put the arrival to LEMD page on so you can take the screenshot? Do you mean on the navigation display, the flight plan, or the stars, etc.? Let me know which, navigation display or flight plan, and on the plan screen, and I will of course oblige. Leonard, it's the ashtray. MFS on the flight plan. So we've got the decel point, but there you go. That's the initial. They're the final waypoints, which lead you to intercepting the ILS, starting at MD 600. After we have left Rilco, which is part of the star. In fact, that's the full star there. Starts at Ridav, the star finishes at Rilco, and then we're on the initial approach. Runway 18 right. Sergeant Vigil, can I ask when the printer thing and the sounds are going to come out? Very good question. So I would imagine the new sounds will be in the dev version before the printer thing. Just because I think everyone's so bowled over by how amazing those sounds are, and it doesn't seem to have affected anything in terms of the aircraft. Interesting to note though, the printer and the printout has had some issues, and that is because it's something to do, I don't understand it, but it's something to do with obviously the coding of the flight deck and the animation of the printout coming through, and one of the things that affects it is the livery, because they have to write over, I think it's the panel config file or something like that, which liveries can sometimes upset. So people have been having trouble with it with some liveries. So there you go. So with the descent preparation then, and weather and landing info, we've got that. The flight management guidance system is all prepared. Landing elevation is close to 2,000 feet. I think it's around 1996. I may have made that up. Let me just have a look for you. It's a lot easier to check when your Navigraph charts don't crash. 1991. There we go, 1991. Sergeant video, no problem at all. It is a very long runway, lovely long runway in Madrid. For how long is it? Oh yeah, 3.5 kilometers. That's fine. So we won't need to use the auto brake for that. So our arrival briefing then, we've pretty much done the chart. Hang on, HD, what's that? Cross-checking the landing elevation. You're just checking the landing elevation is auto on the lower ECAM. If it works. I don't think I've ever seen that appear on the lower ECAM, so afraid not. That'll be something else to come in the next weeks and months. Okay, so the routing, as we've discussed, is pretty straightforward. Following the start, and at Rilco we want to be at 11,000 feet. From Rilco we're then descending down and to 7,000 feet via, this is where VNAV would be fantastic, because we've basically got step down waypoints, 11,000, 10,000, 9,000, 8,000, all the way to Medot, which I believe is 7,000 feet. The platform altitude to capture the localizer, so that would be good. Minimum safe altitude is 10,000 feet because of the mountains to the north of Madrid. So minimum safe altitude 10,000 feet. Weather should be alright for Cat 1. There is a little bit of low-lying cloud. Shall we double check it, HD? No, that's the landing elevation is set to auto, which is currently minus 2,000 feet. No, we've seen that before. Seth, good evening. Digital flight deck should get me and HD into a full motion sim. It's been some years since I got into a proper A320 simulator. You can, or you could, I don't know if they're still doing it, but you could actually pay to go in them. That's what I did a long time ago. And even many more years ago than that, I had 3 hours in a 777 simulator, British Airways, down at Heathrow. That was amazing. I was only about 17 back then, and wow. In fact, I'll tell you a story before we start the descent. I was 17, went down to London Heathrow. Luckily, a friend of a friend of a friend knew the operations director of British Airways down at London Heathrow, and he got me into the 777 flight sim early one morning, and I mean it was about 5 a.m. and we got 3 hours in there to do whatever I wanted and learn whatever the questions I wanted answering. And one of the things we did, we took off from JFK, and obviously that many years ago the Twin Towers were still there, so they were in the simulator. And he said to me, do you fancy flying the 777 between the Twin Towers? And I said, can that even be done? And he said, if you get it exactly right, follow these instructions, yes it can. It's one of the things that we do and mess around with. So I said, okay then, let's have a go. And he talked me through it, and I actually did fly the obviously a simulator, but I flew the 777 British Airways simulator between the Twin Towers at a 90-degree bank to get it through. And then it wasn't very long after that tragedy struck in New York, and sadly of course they were no more. And I thought, wow, unbelievable. So yeah, there's my 777 simulator Twin Tower story, and it still haunts me even now thinking about doing it. It was yeah, very, very strange. It was very, very surreal when I discovered what had actually happened in Manhattan, because they were very, very close. Right, enough of reminiscing. Where are we? I would imagine, Russ, they had to remove them because it's a good visual reference point, isn't it, if they're training. They've got Freedom Tower now, haven't they? Something like that. Yeah, and then a few years prior to doing that, I'd actually been to New York, and I'm sure like many, many of us have done, been lucky enough to stand at the top of the Twin Towers, and obviously taking it for granted. Danny, good evening. Which star are we using? We are flying the Redav 2 Alpha. Redav 2 Alpha star. To be at flight level 110 by Wilco. So Phoenix, do you want the VFR map? I can bring that up for a little bit for you. There we go. So we're going to be starting that descent very soon. Tell the passengers to use the toilet, because they'll be out of service.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking again from the flight deck. You'll be delighted to know that we will be starting our descent shortly towards our destination, and the cabin crew will start preparing the aircraft for our arrival. If you can make sure the hours are clear for the cabin crew so they can make their way around the aircraft, that would be most appreciated. Thank you very much, and we'll have an update for you shortly.
Cheers, HD. Yeah, I left the SD pages. Put that back on engine. A little bit of wind battering us around. There's a jet stream there over from the left. So zoom in on that navigation page so you can see, where can you see at the moment? You can see Usati and Atuni. And it's the waypoint after Atuni, Wilco, that we want to be at. We want to be at 11,000 feet. MSFS pilot, which shall I choose? Adux 6 Bravo, Albane 3 Bravo. That completely depends on where you're coming from. Is that the star? One of the stars into Madrid? I would choose the Redav 2 Alpha, but that's just because I'm coming in via Redav. HD, you'd go direct Wilco. It is a bit of a dogged approach, isn't it? To be fair, that's probably what they do. The only reason I could think of as not doing that would be if terrain was in the way, which, to be fair, as long as you're above 11,000 feet, I don't think you're going to have any problems. Yeah. So Phoenix, autopilot or U-pilot? A little bit of both. MFS pilot, which are you doing the same flight as me? If you are, make sure you're landing runway 18 right. We'll make that right turn and then we're going to start our descent anyway. Down to 11,000. So here's that right hand turn. Tell you what we will do. Let's go direct to MD400, shall we? That will cut some time out. There we go. And let's start that descent. Down to 11,000. Yeah, we're above those grid lines. Let's see how this descends us. There are constraints to follow. In fact, at MD400 we need to be above 240. Is that coded in? Let's have a look. Oh, it is. So let's see how that works. See what happens. One of the problems I find with the VNav on in the sim at the moment is the sorry, that's just sidetracked me. I'll carry on with what I was saying, but yeah, you're right, the flight plan's cleared up, hasn't it? That doesn't normally happen. Yeah, so one of the problems the big problems with VNav at the moment is I don't think all the constraints are coded correctly at times. So, yeah. Still bringing me down at about, it's going to go down to about 4,000 feet per, oh, do you know what, no. We're not going to do that. Is it? 3,600 feet per minute? That's dropping rather quickly. It's bringing us back in now actually. Let's watch it, let's see if it settles. It shouldn't descend us lower than 240. So let's hold that and see what happens. I'm watching this with interest. Because yours never draws the yellow line before committing. Fair enough. It does take a moment for that yellow line to arrive, however, so don't be too concerned if it doesn't happen instantly. Russ, maybe you're just impatient. We're all guilty of that at some point. If we just knock the terrain radar off. No, we don't need to worry too much about that weather. I'm going to put the terrain radar on though for our landing, given the terrain that surrounds the airport. So let's see if, what is interesting is we've actually not got the magenta constraint listed on the FMA. So what's coded in here? Flight level 240. It says below 240. That's incorrect. How quickly can I change this? Plus 240. So has that actually done anything? Sometimes I think you've got to flick the constraint in for them. Well, let's just look at the next one, which is Usati, flight level 200. And is that above or equal to? I'll say that's below. So this is where it fails. It fails. It doesn't match the coding. It should be above flight level 200. So I've now changed that. What does that look like now on the nav display? So there we go. Now it's above. Even Atuni is minus 120, and it shouldn't be. So if I go ahead actually and just quickly recode these. So Atuni should have been what, above 12? Above 120. There we go. What's the next one? Riclo above 11. Not below it, certainly not below it. Clean that one up. Russ, this has actually been available for a little while, to be honest. I think it's a well-known secret. And then let's just have a look at MD 600-605. So MD 600 is 10,000 feet. Now this is what you can't change because this is part of the initial approach. You can't go in and change these. Well, I'll probably be descending by VNF by that point. HD, I would probably trust Navigraph over the VATSIM database. Yeah, so the waypoint database I think is incorrect. In fact, where are we headed to now? Usati. And are we in... We should be no lower than flight level 200 Usati. I think we're going to bust that if we're not careful. Yeah, it's not got the magenta constraint on there, is it? Tell you what, if I pull that out, go to open descent, if I go back to manage mode, will that engage it? No. Okay, it was worth a try, wasn't it? Worth a try. HD, yes, it's a different database because the database in the simulator comes from NavBlue, is it? Which they've told us is the Airbus database, so you might have to tell me. Tranquil Breeze is VVAN supposed to be fixed now? No, not at all. Is it Lufthansa's database digital? Yeah. I thought I'd read somewhere it was the Airbus database, but could be wrong. Interestingly enough now, I've not got the magenta constraint, but let's see if it busts through 20,000 feet, 20,000 feet here at Usati. So is this going to pull us up at 20,000 feet? I don't think it is. No, so I'm just going to level the aircraft off here. Oh. That will have upset the passengers. Russ, to be fair, I don't normally do it this way. I was just wanting to see how the aircraft did. So NavBlue is an Airbus company. There's definitely something gone wrong with the coding then, isn't there? Oh, well, never mind. Okay, so about 40 miles from Rilco, we'll continue that descent again. Hang on, what's it doing now? What's it doing now? That seems to have settled down a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, you may have noticed we have begun our descent into our destination. We're not expecting any further delays or traffic in front of us in the next few minutes, so if you do assist the cabin please by tidying your trays, handing them back, and putting any lids in the bags provided. For safety reasons, please turn off all electronic devices and switch them to airplane mode until we have landed. Please also note that the aircraft toilets will shortly go out of use. Thank you.
So there's the bright lights of Madrid over there that you can see. So we've got a tailwind behind us at the moment, so the wind's obviously changing quite a bit around us. 60 miles away, they're coming from almost an opposite direction. MFS pilot, how do I know which MDH use? So, minimum descent height, we're doing a Cat 1 approach because the visibility is good enough for it. So you look under the Cat 1, and the Airbus 320 is a Category C aircraft. So on that chart you're looking for Cat 1, Category C aircraft. Oh, what's it doing now? Well, the aircraft has just decided to begin a descent. Huh. Okay. It's now going to Atuni, where it wants to be above 12,000 feet, which is correct. That's what I coded in. Alright, we'll let that continue for a little bit. Am I still in VS hold mode? Oh no, it's clicked out of that. We're not in the approach phase, are we yet? No, not yet. And there we go, down it goes. Well, that was an uncommanded descent. So HD, would the aircraft actually have still done that, bearing in mind that I'd set it to be above flight level 120 by Atuni? So yeah, it should level at flight level 120, but I was currently in VS0 because I just leveled the aircraft off. Daniel, TCAS does not work yet in VATSIM. Not yet. Okay, time to get those passengers in their seats, I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the seatbelt sign. Please fasten your seatbelts as soon as possible, thank you.
Alright, so aircraft is descending alright at the moment. I'm just keeping an eye on this. I'm allowing the aircraft a lot more automation than I would normally do. I'm kind of curious to see what happens. We know if anything starts to go terribly wrong that I can just grab control of it. So, with that, transition altitude is 13,000 feet, so 1007. Now going direct to Rilco. Yeah, so HD is obviously correct. I'm used to seeing altitude constraint, not just alt. But it is still descending on some sort of profile now, down to Rilco, where we want to be at 11,000 feet by the time we get there. Madrid traffic, EZ34 Alpha Mike, 18 miles inbound Rilco on the RIDAV2 Alpha arrival, expecting runway 18 right. So that's just letting anyone else know on VATSIM that we're in the vicinity. It's not doing too bad actually, is it really, profile-wise? HD, I've just seen what you've read. You're still about 2 steps ahead of me all the way. Guess that comes with experience. Probably going to enter the approach phase a little earlier than where it's suggesting, which is just after Rilco. There is actually a speed constraint as well at Rilco, 220 knots. So let's get these landing lights on. We're only at 13,000 feet. We're at 13,000 feet, I know, but the terrain is pretty high, so we're not actually as far as you think away. Just turn these floodlights down a little bit. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Little bit of turbulence bouncing us around over the hillside. Good evening, Lee. Russ, that's the beauty of fly-by-wire. Okay, landing checklist, approach checklist, minimum set, engine mode select norm, and the electronic flight bag is open in front of me and all is good. Flight plan sequencing looks good. We can perhaps now enter the approach phase manually. Let's do that. So slow to green dot speed. Speed is already in manage mode. Flight path is looking good. Speed brakes at the moment are not extended. I love the wind over the top, and I think that's the KLM that I can just see some lights flashing there in the distance. Okay, so let's see how this descends us down now to 7,000 feet. See if it behaves or not. It may not do because the constraints were saying below 10,000, below 9,000, below 8,000 when they should be stepped at 1098. But we'll just see what the profile looks like coming into this. So there's the KLM straight in front of us. In fact, is that the KLM? He told us he was on base, so he may be coming directly towards us. Could flash our landing lights at him. We could have actually done a hold there at Wilco, couldn't we? There is a published hold. Tell you what, a lot of people ask me to do a hold, so let's just do one. Alright, so let's just make a left-hand turn to heading 308. Which is the published hold. Yeah, HD, I think he said 18 right, same as us, so let's just do this hold, fly heading 3008, time it for a minute, and then come back round. Madrid traffic EZ34 Alpha Mike is entering the hold at Rilco to allow the arriving KLM aircraft to land. That is a very good point, HT. Let's just get that back up to 10,000 feet. We'll be alright there, 10,000 feet. Because where were we? We were at MD. We were actually MD 610, where the minimum was 8,000 feet. So between 8 and 9, I think we should be safe. The minimum, if we were at Rilco, then it would have been 11,000 feet. So let's just enter that hold for a minute. So had I entered the hold where it should have been, which is at Rilco, we should have held it at 11,000 feet. I've sort of done a manual hold here, which was on the way to MD610, well, between MD610 and MD605, where our altitude should have been between 8 and 9,000 feet. So I think we can just about get away with that. How many ruler slaps does that give me, HD? That was my logic behind it anyway. The hold function is not yet working, which is why I'm having to do this manually. And there's a minute, so we can now spin that back round to 128 degrees. Quite handy. That's the first time I've had to do a hold in Flight Sim 2020. Then once we've lined that back up, we can we can carry on direct to MD 610. Okay, let's go back and carry on with our flight into managed mode, back direct to MD 610 at an altitude of 8,000 feet. Lots of you have always asked me how to perform a hold or demonstrate how to do a hold, and it really is as simple as that. Helps when you have the charts, however, of course, because the actual holding point was published on the charts, although technically we missed the holding point just because didn't know we'd have to perform the hold. If air traffic control was on, they would most likely have told us to enter the published hold at Rilco, and we would have just done exactly as we did there. Still need to get us down a little bit quicker if we can. It's not wanting to. Actually, it's probably not doing too bad now. It's increased that rate of descent a little bit. Just waiting for the glide slope to populate. We are 22 miles away, so plenty of time for that. Lee, there is a hold function there, and you can use it, but it doesn't actually do anything. At the moment, it is just for show. I'm sure Flyby are working on it because it's a much requested after feature. There's that glide slope. Could have just done with being a little bit lower, so let me just pull that because we wanted to be at 7,000 feet. Let's engage the approach much anyway, because there's the localizer coming in, so that's glide slope and localizer both captured. That's looking neat. Okay, flaps 1. Missed approach, altitude 5,000 feet, and we would then, after that we can climb again if need be, but no higher than 6,000 feet. It's just going to have to chase that glide slope now, isn't it? Well, let's just give some, well, that's not a pretty view, as it's chasing that glide slope. Spoilers are out. We need to slow this bird down. Landing gear down very, very early. That's bringing the glide slope back into line. I was close, HD, but not over. I think because it was chasing the glide slope as well, we'd obviously got a bit of speed. What are we, 13 miles away now? Flaps 2. Madrid traffic easy 34 Alpha Mike is established to land runway 18 right 11 miles. Okay, so terrain is good from here on in. I'm just going to turn it off. A little bit glaring. I could have turned it down, of course. 10 miles out. Still, Phoenix, I cannot land reverses have 0 power. Why? You're not the first person I've seen say that, so I don't know what's happened. Hopefully we'll not have that. Radio altimeter is alive. Eight miles to run. HD missed approach altitude is set. If we do have a missed approach, it's right to turn, and then we cross 8.5 DME at 5,000 feet or above. Okay, HD. Don't climb above 6,000 feet. Fair enough if that's the altitude. Five miles, flaps 3. I've got blue signs on the ECAM because I've not got these electronic devices signs turned on. Flaps full. Landing checklist. Cabin secured. Auto thrust. Speed. Go around altitude set. ECAM memo. Landing no blue. Slight crosswind then from the right, as we can see there on the navigation display. However, I'm feeling a lot more confident as we have the custom fly-by-wire build to play with. Eastwards leave, that's right. If you've got a nice long runway, we don't need those. Autopilot off. Hopefully see you on the ground as we just concentrate on this landing. At least the pappies are in the right place on this one.
500. 400. 100 above. Minimum.
Continue. bit, but at least that held the centre line a lot better than in previous crosswind attempts.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Madrid. The local time is 22:52. Unfortunately, the temperature is currently a very cold 0 degrees Celsius, or 32 Fahrenheit, so if you have a jacket
now
or coat, you might want to put it on before exiting the aircraft.
I think it's Zulu
Please
7.
remain seated until the aircraft arrives at the gate. You are reminded to keep all electronic devices switched off until you have entered the airport terminal. Thank you for flying with Easyjet.
And this is a custom airport, isn't it? So should look pretty neat when we get at the ramp in the terminal. Okay, let's hold that here. TCAS, weather radar, wind shear. Start the APU, landing lights can come off, strobe lights can come off. Oh, where shall we go? Where shall we go? I'm just going to go to the closest one, I think. Where was the left rudder squeeze on touchdown? Fair point. Did we land right of the centre line or left? I can't remember now. I think we were left of the centre line, weren't we? Cabin crew sounds are from self-loading cargo. Tad left pointing right. Fair enough, HD. I look forward to that debrief. Sakura Dread, yeah. You really do notice a difference in the custom fly-by-wire build. Even then with the rudder you could see it wanted to mess around a little bit after touchdown, but at least you can hold it. You can hold it far better than you could with the default. Guess that's half the problem, isn't it, HD? If you don't know, that's when it becomes an issue. Robert, what checklist do I use for A320neo? I've got one, but it's missing the important stuff. Right, Robert, get yourself on our Discord, and fingers crossed, there's going to be a wonderful one coming very soon. I wasn't concentrating then at all. We're very far away from the jetway. I'm not sure it extends that far. Here we go. Oh, parking brakes on. APU is running. Engine 1 off. Engine 2 off. Logbooks. The brakes have worked since day 1, HD. They're like, you know, when you've had your car in for a service and they've changed the brake pads. Suddenly, when you used to have to stomp hard on your brake at a give way sign, and you end up going through the windscreen because you're not used to how fresh and new they are. East Presley, there are some already, as you say, on the Discord, but there's going to be some even better ones pretty soon. I'm hoping. All right, passengers, get off. Touchdown 188 feet per minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck once again, I hope you enjoyed your flight with us today. On behalf of myself, Gavin, the first officer, the cabin crew, and everybody else in the chat room, we wish you a safe and pleasant journey from the airport, and we hope to see you again soon with the Easyjetsimpilot. Thank you for flying with us today, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Okay, the ground power unit's standing by. Let's turn her on. We can now turn the APU off. I might zip outside. Oh, I was going to zip outside and listen to that wonderful sound of the APU shutting down, but that won't be in this edition. So that's a shame. Alright guys, thank you very much for joining me for this Saturday evening flight. Hope you've all had fun, hope you've enjoyed it. Let me turn those beacon lights off because they can go off now as well. There we are. Thank you very much to all of the subscribers. Thank you very much to those of you that donate and contribute to the site. Get yourself in the Discord if you're not already. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And why not give the video a like as well. We'll be back for more. And I urge you, if you haven't already, check out the video uploaded this morning of the printer working in the flight deck. That shall be coming soon. And that is going to add a new realm of realism when checking out the weather and metars at those en route airports. Good night everyone, and thanks to HD of course as well. Speak to you all again soon.